realized that New York has a reputation of being wildly intimidating. The traffic, the crowds, the
Yeah,
prices,
it's a lot
everything.
going
People are like,
on.
oh my God,
Commotion.
that city, I couldn't possibly live there. I can't stand it. The people are so mean
There's
and
devotion
unfriendly.
to live in
And
that
I
city.
likened New York City to an M&M, hard on the outside, soft on the inside. And if you've ever eaten
Period.
that, it doesn't take a lot to break that hard outer shell. All you have to do is try.
With no
That's the thing
punish.
about New York City
No
is the
pressure.
people who succeed in New York, however they define it, and thrive in New York are the people who try.
Hey everybody, this is Dean FM, Dean Fraser Milford, here for your creature comfort, and today I wanted to do another reaction video. This one's going to be to Jonathan Capehart on being black, gay, and unapologetic in America. This is by the channel GLAD. We love the organization, we love the cause, what it do, we love talking about our stories, we love black, queer, gay stories in America, and learning about that type of thing. So please make sure to check it out yourself, so the link down below.
I'm really excited today to be here with Jonathan Capehart, whose new book just came out. Yet
Love
here
him.
I am.
Like the
And
news,
it's
right?
a really
Yeah, on the news, yeah.
powerful first person story
Great.
about who you are and
Sometimes
how
two
you
paces.
got here. Congratulations. It's a big
Thank you.
undertaking. And
Thank
it's
you
very
very much.
vulnerable.
That's what everyone's saying. I get why they're saying that, but for me, it is sort of like, of course it was going to be vulnerable. Of course it was going to be
That's
raw
the
and
struggle.
honest.
That's
And
the
I say
realness.
that because there are two books that sort of form the foundation of why I went the route I went in writing this book and being vulnerable. The first
I wanna
is
write a book.
Personal History by Katharine Graham. To read the autobiography of one of the most powerful women in journalism and certainly one of
Okay.
the most powerful women in America,
Shout
to
out a
read
woman.
her
Love
be
her.
so raw and open and honest about her insecurities, about her fraught relationship with her mother, about how she made her way through after her husband's death. It impacted me in a way because I thought, wow, this is somebody who could write a completely different book. And
Yeah.
no one would begrudge her sanding down or whitewashing parts of her past, and she didn't. And
have an
then
audience
two
that can
decades
do that.
later, just
I
about
like to read a
comes
book for me.
Charles Blow's book, Fire Shut Up in My Bones, which also raw, honest. It put into context, no pun intended, the fire and the passion that was behind every Charles Blow column in the New York Times. And so I thought, if ever I write a book, it has to be just in the mold of those two books. And so
Probably
I
like
took
very
that to
reflective and
heart.
You
cathartic
did
too.
write so powerfully about the
write it.
silence surrounding your father and the long road to understanding his absence. How has reclaiming that story shaped your sense of identity and purpose today?
It was more coming to grips with that. First, finding out stuff about my father, and then in the process of writing, trying to put into words just what that silence was about my father. And it wasn't just my mother not wanting to
It's
talk
hard to
about him,
express sometimes
but
when it comes to
really
people
the
who are not there
extended
or whatever.
family. It was like they all had a
Same period of
meeting and
time.
decided, no matter what, we're not talking about him unless he asks. And if he does, we're going to make sure that we say the bare minimum and he doesn't ask again. I think I write in the book that my mother became expert at conjuring silence. And so whenever I tried to bring it up,
It's a big
she would
problem in our
conjure
community, right?
silence
Let's be real.
as
Let's
if
put
the
our hands
silence
up.
was like a bouncer
Not just our
at a
community,
bar
obviously,
or
but
a nightclub. And
it's
so
very specific,
dealing with
you know.
that silence and how that has impacted me once I realized it was something I had to put it down on the page, and then I had to walk away for a little bit because it meant dealing with not just the silence, but what the silence was covering up, but also what it
Silence is
meant
violence.
to really, as a 50-something-year-old man, what it meant not to have a father and why I tended to gravitate towards father figures. These are usually people who saw something in me first and took me under their wings. Usually those father figures were married to very strong women. I had the father figures and paid attention to their wives just as intently. I don't think that's an accident.
I thought one of the most moving aspects.
Let me just say, I can't speak on not having a father necessarily. I'm going to try to be like more transparent and stuff about my experience. I would not say that my father was ever necessarily absent as much as it was just like there was a time that it was just difficult between me and him. So I don't know if I can speak on that specifically, but my heart goes out to everybody who does. I know that in the queer Black community, Black gay community, there's a specific sort of macho-ness in the culture that is very much both in liberal and conservative spaces, I believe. That's been my experience. It is a tough situation. Be truthful. Get out there. Tell your story. Everybody in my audience, Black, if you are queer, if you are a person of color, if you are a queer person, if you are anybody who is in any marginalized group and have a story to tell your story, because it's very important. And it's needed too. Like, we got too many people out here talking about some alpha male crap. Like, they be having a platform, but they shouldn't be having it. And we all know that that's just an unfortunate tea about the situation. Like I said earlier, being silent, we shouldn't shame anybody who has been forced to be silent or been pressured to do so. There's a lot of things that could lead to
your chosen family. And you touched a little bit about that, finding mentors and the father figures who shaped you. Mm-hmm. What did they teach you about leadership and the way to build a future and a family and a life for yourself, especially with these strong women that you were looking at these folks as family? How did they shape you?
They treated everyone with respect and kindness and dignity, no matter who they were. And the more time I spent with them, the more I then realized, okay, so they're kind and decent people. I learned a lot. But then they were also interested. They asked me lots of questions, wanting to know all sorts of things that were happening, what I thought about current events, especially the mentors when I was in New York working at the Daily News, who wanted to talk about politics all the time and telling me their perspective and what their experiences have been, but always centering the conversation on, well, what do you think? One of my mentors, who was also my first boss, the president of Carleton College in Minnesota, which is my alma mater, I had a year fellowship after graduation. He loved the book and he loved what I wrote about mentors. He said, when I was younger, I had people I looked up to who were older than me. He's now in his 80s. He says, now I notice that as I got older, my mentors got younger. He counts me as one of his mentors. And I was like, wait, what? How? He said something about it's more about observing than about anything that I said. It's just a reminder to everyone that mentors are all around. Some identify themselves, some you identify, but oftentimes you could be a mentor to someone and not even know it.
I'd love to hear what you think that says about America's discomfort and conflict with Black men, Black people, queer voices.
When I was writing about this particular episode, where I felt really comfortable with my friends. They were family. And so I used a phrase that is very common in Black households. I said it and the person said, what does race have to do with this? It had nothing to do with race for me, but everything to do with race for them. And it got to the larger conversation, which is, it was in that town where I learned how to be Black in white spaces. And by that, I mean, it is not my determination of how Black I am. It is in the eye of the person who is looking at me. And so in some instances, I could be too Black. In other instances, I could be not Black enough. And in other instances, folks didn't want me to be Black at all. There's an unspoken, unwritten agreement when you are the lone Black kid in a group of white friends or in a white space, and that is you don't talk about it. Don't bring up the fact that you're Black, and we won't even acknowledge the fact that you're Black. For African Americans, we're walking this tightrope because we don't know how Black we are to whoever is talking to us. That this too Black, not Black enough thing is also in the eyes of African Americans. I've gotten it from both sides. It is in the eye of the beholder. No matter how Black I know I am, I'm too Black for some, not Black enough for others.
There's no doubt, and you've been reporting on it, a political, polarized.
I had to fix something. Sorry about that. I had to take a little pause because I had to fix something because it was just in the front, and I was looking at it, I was like,
I'd love to hear a little bit from you about how you see your role. How do we get through this?
We get through this by refusing to stop talking about this, about what's happening to the country in general and to us as LGBTQ plus people in particular. When I was at the New York Daily News on the editorial board and when I was on the Washington Post editorial board is, for lack of a better description, I viewed myself as an ambassador, initially an ambassador to the race, because I'm the first generation of African Americans to live in a country where all of the words of the Constitution applied to us because of the 64 Civil Rights Act and the 65 Voting Rights Act. And so here I am going to school, being one of the few Black kids in the classroom and the only Black person probably folks have met. And so, like, hey, here I am. I'm not this scary figure. I'm this person. So you go to a job like an editorial board, you bring all of yourself to the table. No one says that in the interview process, but once you're in the job, you then realize that if we're going to be talking about hate crime legislation, I'm not only the Black guy at the table, I'm the gay guy at the table. My lived experience factors into the conversation. Also, people should recognize that when I say I'm an ambassador to the race or an ambassador to the LGBTQ plus tribe, I am not saying that I am the voice of either community. What I'm saying is I am a voice of the community at a table that might not have our voices at it. As long as I am in a position where I can write about, speak about issues of importance, and there is an LGBTQ plus angle to it, I will be speaking about what is happening, how it's impacting our community.
Yet here I am feels like a declaration of presence. For those folks who are still out there searching for their sense of home, their sense of self-worth, what final reflections would you offer on what it truly means to arrive?
When I use the word success, what I mean by success is however you define it. Obviously, some people define success as being wealthy. Some people define success as having a high-powered job. Other people might define success as being a great writer, but they love writing, but they haven't hit it big yet. But it's the passion that drives them. You can't have true success. You can't have a true sense of home until you know who you are. What does home look like to you? Who is there? And more importantly, how does your worldview make that happen? And only through living life, going through ups and downs, can you discover the boundaries that are either there because they've been erected by other people or that have been erected by you? Because as you start to learn who you are, you then start to realize how you want to be treated, how you want to live your life, and anyone who flies in the face of that, well, you then discover, I don't need to be around those people. I don't need to be around these spaces for my own internal peace. Finding home is about really finding a sense of self, because you can't really be home unless you're comfortable in your own skin and comfortable with who you are, and being able to say to other people who might find you odd or strange or off-putting, intimidating, to be like, yeah, okay, fine. That's on you. I am perfectly comfortable. And that gets back to the original question that you asked that I realized that I never responded to about being told I'm intimidating or unapproachable. After a while, I was just like, you know what? Okay, fine. If that's what you think, that's what you think. There's nothing I can do about it. Sometimes the feelings of intimidation or unapproachability might have nothing to do with you, might have everything to do with their own insecurities.
Really? That's what's up. And
don't need to find out either. If it's not from a place of dark or mean or evil, which knowing you, I know is not, then it's on them.
It's sort of like what I write about New York City, that I didn't understand or realize or know until I moved to Washington and been here for at least a couple of years, and then realized that New York has a reputation of being wildly intimidating. The traffic, the crowds, the prices, everything. People are like, oh my God, that city, I couldn't possibly live there. I can't stand it. The people are so mean and unfriendly. And I likened New York City to an M&M. Hard on the outside, soft on the inside. And if you've ever eaten an M&M, you know that it doesn't take a lot to break that hard outer shell. All you have to do is try. That's the thing about New York City, is the people who succeed in New York, however they define it, and thrive in New York, are the people who try. who say, I am going to try to make myself a part of this incredible city.
Yeah.
For those folks who
Join
are
the
intimidated
locomotion.
by you or feel that you're
Hustling and
unapproachable, think of yourself as the Eminem. All they have to do is try.
Yet here I am is a
Oh, that's
wonderful,
sweet.
wonderful,
That's
wonderful book. I'm so
Get a
excited
book.
for you.
Get a
Congratulations.
book.
I
Get
couldn't
a
think
book.
of a
Get
better
a book.
person to
Get
be
a book.
out there and speaking right now and sharing your story to help others along. So thank you for being and joining us today at GLAAD, Jonathan.
Oh, thank you very much,
I
Sophie.
love that.
Thank
I
you
love
so
glad.
much.
I love you. I love everybody. I love the news. And that, my dear, was reacting to Jonathan Capehart on being black, gay, and unapologetic in America. Please be who you are. Please do not apologize for who you are. Stay strong. I know that many people are going to give you a lot of shade. People are going to hate for no matter who you are. People go hate no matter what. The way I look at it is if it's not constructive criticism, then just... We don't need like you're a tranny. Maybe you can turn the volume down on your vocals. We can handle that. We can deal with that. But if it's not coming from like literally like your side politically, sometimes then it's not worth getting involved in. Because they're not gonna like you no matter what you are, no matter who you are, no matter what type of queerness you radiate. Yeah, radiate. There's the word. Have a nice day. I'll talk to you later. Bye bye.